Throughout the history of America, gender norms have been through many changes. Looking into gender norms, we think of certain expectations when it comes to a person's gender, such as being a boy or a girl. For example, people back then considered women to be very soft and motherly people to take care of the children. For men, they were considered to be tough, hard, and strong. They were also considered to be very strong leaders, working men, and so on. These days, anyone from both sides can be considered either one. There are men who can be soft and caring, or there are women who are considered to be very strong leaders as well. But back then in the colonial times in America, people were expected to follow those expectations when it came to your gender. And you were forced to be that way, especially women. Women back then were not given a lot of options, let it be through education, voting rights, and so on. Today, I'm going to explain those changes in gender norms for women back then. To get a better understanding of what women were socially back then, I'm going to show you a demonstration on what society expected of them. Hello, madam from the 1500s. Do you like being a hardworking individual in your society?
Why, yes.
Do you like getting an education or to get a job to earn a lot of money for you and your family?
Of course.
Women were not given much options back then. They were only expected to stay at home, cook for the family, and clean clothes. That's it. If any person were to break these expectations in their society, they would be considered outcasts and did not belong. A good example of this would be in Massachusetts, in a town called Salem, where they had this event called the Salem Witch Crisis. Summary of the Salem Witch Crisis: in the 1500s, in a small town called Salem, a lot of people did not like the minister of the town named Reverend Paris. His daughters started having convulsions and were not able to read the Bible or say their prayers. And they got some random priests off the streets and put doctor's clothes on them and diagnosed them with witchcraft.
Oh boy, I wonder how my daughters are doing. Oh, what the Hey! Doctor! I need a doctor! Witchcraft!
The girls continued to tattletale on 3 women who were suspected to be witches. One of them being Tituba, who was a Native American slave, and knowing people from the 1500s, anyone who has a slight tan was considered to be associated with the devil.
Brown! Get his ass! Get down, boy! Get down! Carry him! Pick him up! Let's go! Get his ass!
Sarah Good was another woman who was accused of being a witch due to her being poor in the community, because being poor was an obvious sign of witchcraft.
Yeah.
Spare change! Spare change! Change?
No.
Quiet down, woman.
And finally, Sarah Osborne, who was an elderly woman who lived in Salem, who was known to be very cranky. The reason why she was suspected to be a witch was because she did not go to church for a while.
Hey bro, you sure that's a witch right there? Well, she didn't go to church, so fuck it, let's go. Yep.
Who are you?
You're coming with us, witch!
Fun fact, did you know that one method to identify suspected witches was to make a witch's cake, which was basically a cake made with urine and ashes, and if a person were to react to it, then that is evidence of witchcraft.
Ma'am, you were suspected of being a witch.
Doctor, what am I supposed to do?
Go ahead. Urinate on this Twinkie. I'll get the results that I need.
Well, you're the doctor. That's just good. Here you go, doctor.
Thank you.
Here, imagine.
Hey there, kiddo, you hungry? Oh boy, am I. This is a pretty good cake, doctor. What's in it? Piss and ashes. Bruh! What the Hey! Feed me that! Was it good though? Of course not, what the Hey! Alright, I heard enough. Witchcraft, everyone, get her!
Ah! No! Please! No!
After these women were suspected of witchcraft, Tituba was spared due to confessing. while the other two, Sarah Osborne and Sarah Good, passed away. Osborne dying in jail from natural causes and Sarah Good being executed for witchcraft. This crisis was a good example of how seriously people took gender norms back then in the early days of America. If you did not follow them, you would be considered an outcast in society or executed for being a suspected witch, because none of these women followed the norms of being a woman during this time. But these women were not the only ones who fell victim to suspected witchcraft. About 15 other women and 5 men were executed for suspected witchcraft. Men and women who either did not follow the norms in their society or were accused of witchcraft just because the person who accused them did not like them. The suspected person did not have much of a chance to defend themselves anyway, since the judges at the time believed in a form of evidence called spectral evidence, which is basically using a person's imagination as evidence to prove that the suspect is a witch.
What? Where the f am I, huh?
So for court case number 69, Mrs. Joanna Smith, you are being accused of witchcraft. How does the defendant plead?
Not guilty. Do you even have any evidence against me?
Call the witness up to the stand.
Your Honor, with all due respect, that's just some random man on the streets. I don't even know him. What does he have to do with the... What is he doing right there on the stand?
Witch! Oh my god! What is she doing to me? Help! Court, Your Honor! The witch is coming after me!
Release your witchy from this man at once,
I'm not even doing anything to him. He's just doing it on his own.
Oh! Witch! She's after me! She's touching me! I can feel her in my skin!
Oh man, dude, I'm going to jail. I'm dying. I'm through.
As the years passed by, gender norms for women eventually changed. Women over the years began to take part in movements for their rights and use the idea of moral suasion to achieve that, which is a form of persuasion to use a person's feelings in order to change their behavior. However, one of the biggest changes was during the Civil War in the late 1800s. During this time, 2 sides in America fought against each other to get rid of slavery. Confederates being the ones in the South who supported slavery, and the Union, who were the ones in the North, were against slavery. During this time, the men had to go out and leave their towns and homes in order to fight for the war. So they had to leave behind their family, property, children, and so on back at home. So what did the women do back at home? While the men were fighting out in the war? Well, they had to take up jobs that were originally a man's job, such as secretary jobs or tending the crops in the farm, and so on. One event that was interesting was an event called the Bread Riots. This is when the South was running out of food due to the war, and women during this time took matters into their own hands by demanding food from the government. They even dressed up as bandits with masks and stole food from anywhere they could get their hands on.
Well, seems like a good time to close shop.
No! You're throwing your bread at me! You bastards! You bastards! One of the biggest changes in gender norms for women is that they were able to join in on the war effort. They were not able to fight in the war, but they were able to be nurses to take care of the wounded soldiers in the front lines. At first, nursing was not considered a profession at the time, but this all changed due to a woman named Dorothy Dix. She was a reformer who was very active in many different reform movements leading up to the Civil War. She also led a cause for better treatment for the mentally ill and prisoners. Because of her, she was able to make nursing a profession after the Civil War. But the way she was able to do this was by meeting up with the U.S. President Abraham Lincoln in order for him to approve nursing as a program.
Hello, Mr. President. Is it possible for women in America to participate in this current war by providing aid to the men in the front?
After some discussion, Dorothy Dix was able to convince the president to approve nursing as a program. The only problem with Dorothy's proposal was, who will take care of the kids at their homes? Will the woman distract the men in the front lines? And who will pay for the program?
We'll raise money for a fundraiser.
Proceed. Eventually, women slowly begin to gain rights as time goes by. With the assistance of many women's rights protests, the gender norms for women slowly begin to change with the many rights they gain from the protest, such as the right to vote, aka the 19th Amendment that was ratified on August 18, 1920, and many more. I know this is a weird way to end the video, but trust me, I have enough to edit already. This is gonna take way too long, so I'm sorry. This is the way to end the video. That's everything. Bye.
So, here's your colon. That makes you a witch.
But sir, this is the 20th century.
Okay. And
Sir, please.
let's get 'em, boys.
Yeah!